My name's Chris Phillip.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
My name is Matty Robson and you're listening to the Blue Army podcast. Yeah, I'm back.
I just hit the record button there, man. Basically, I'll just do a quick introduction and then we'll just plow on with things, mate. And it'll just be like a bit of an icebreaker after the introduction, and then just questions about Hartlepool, the 7 years he spent there, 7 seasons he spent there, and then obviously a little bit about Carlisle and leaving room for a bit of a part two, mate. All right?
Yeah, brilliant.
All right, man. Absolutely appreciate your time, mate. Thank you so much. Let's do this. It'll be about 45 minutes, an hour, maybe something like that, I think, by the time I get with the questions. Right, here we go. Excuse me for the introduction, sorry. Maras, how's it going? And welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. This is one of our super special summer special episodes, and I am absolutely buzzing to be joined by a man who burst onto the footballing scene winning Hartlepool United's Young Player of the Season award in his first full season as a professional in football, going on to play nearly 150 times for the club before joining Carlisle United, where his left-sided wizardry earned him not only a league trophy in 2011, but the Player of the Season award winner for 2012-2013 campaign. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce the listeners of the Blue Army podcast to Matty Robson, Matt Robson, Super Matty Robson. How's it going, mate?
It is going absolutely wonderfully, Liam. Absolutely delighted to be on, and I was pretty taken aback when I got asked to do this. So I thought, you know what, can't turn it down.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you joining me on the podcast today. And of course, the listeners are going to really enjoy this episode, mate. So really appreciate your time. I'll plow on with things, mate. We have a bit of tradition around here when we have an ex-pro on the podcast. We have an icebreaker. We ask you all the same icebreaker, mate. And here it goes. In order to play professional football, you need to be blessed with a certain amount of core athletic attributes. So I'm talking about strength, I'm talking about agility, I'm talking about pace, and of course you'll train those over time. But the question is, Matthew, in a world where football never existed, how would you imagine you applying those traits? How would you imagine maybe going into a different sport if you had to? What sport would you have liked to have played professionally?
Oh, do you know what, Liam? It's a very, very good question. I've always considered myself to be quite sporty, quite athletic, like a multitude of sports, as do most professional athletes. If I had to pick one, do you know what? I might throw a curveball in at you here. Something that you probably might not expect. Water polo.
Water polo?
I'm only joking. You know what? It would be the go-to would be golf, but do you know what? I would love having kind of start to follow it more and more frequently over the past number of years. Rugby league.
Rugby league. All right. Okay.
Rugby
okay. League over union. Why is that?
Just the speed of league. I think the speed of the game is it's right up there. The intensity, you know, it's non-stop. It's on the go. In a way, it is a bit similar to football. It is literally non-stop for 80 minutes. Obviously, you get your breaks and half time, but it is non-stop. You know, it's a sport that I've now started to follow. But yeah, I'd probably pick rugby league if I could.
I mean, fair. I mean, you did get me with water polo, mate. You really did. But you hear a lot of golf, and you hear a lot of like ping pong. So you hear a lot of sort of like
Yeah,
single person sports. But
yeah,
that's still a new one, mate. League's a new one. Water polo would have been a bit far fetched, but league
yeah.
still.
I wanted to see a reaction. Well, I think I cracked him out there. But no,
Yeah,
I
you
think,
saw.
like you say, golf would have been the one that I would probably say upwards of 80% would go for. Which, and don't get me wrong, I love playing it, but it's an individual sport. Sorry, nothing beats team sport. Nothing beats it. So having that sort of rugby league and the team camaraderie would have been my second choice. Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I played a bit of rugby league as well. I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. I can see where you would be coming from, and your speed would have left yourself. I mean, are you left-handed as well as left-footed? Is that a thing?
I'm a full on lefty, full on left-handed,
All right,
left-footed.
okay. So that probably affects the way you throw a ball as well.
Strangely enough, I throw it to me right, which is weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm quite an oddball. Play golf right-handed, um, pretty much everything else left-handed. It's pretty odd. Yeah,
Bit mad. That's a bit mad. That's a bit
yeah,
mad. I'll
bit
tell you what
mad.
else is a bit mad, mate. At the football club at the moment, what's been going on at Carlisle United, one of your former teams, and you'll be able to relate to this, and that's why I want to get your insight on it. There's a lot of releases that have been happening. There's a lot of contract offers that get happening. I just popped into my head today. What happened? Are you all sat outside in a waiting room, like looking at each other awkwardly, or do you all have a time for your meeting, or like how does that work?
Yeah, I think in my case, I think the writing was on the wall for a period of time, so I knew it was going to happen. But we all are given sort of it's on harsh. I think it was like 15, 20 minute slots. But as it is and had been throughout the season, lads, used to turn up early, have the crack. We used to go into the dress. We sat in the dressing room, had the crack with each other because sometimes meetings would overrun, so you would drop into others. So you are, I would think, also sat there in the dressing room, or whether it's outside the management's office. But yeah, whether it went one or two ways, you would either pop back along the corridor, say goodbyes, that's me done, or it's gone the other way. You've been offered a new deal. But I think each individual is different. In my case, it was possibly the last time that I would see many of the guys there. So it was kind of whoever was there to say me goodbyes.
That's a bit emotional then. Fair enough. I've just got this awkward scene in my head of like players in like suits and tracksuits just sitting cross-legged in a waiting room. I just
Yeah.
popped into my head today. Obviously, what else comes towards the end of the season is that the loan players have to go back to the parent clubs. And this season, a lot of Carlisle fans fell in love with a particular Carlisle loan signing. And again, your perspective as an ex-player, I mean, and a player, have you ever fell in love with a loan signing, and is that a bit different? They're not sort of like leaving the club permanently, a loan signing.
I think through my time at Carlisle, we went through a real purple patch of having some fantastic loanee players. Not all worked out for whatever reason, but there were some real diamonds that we got through. You look at the likes of James Chester, Ben Marshall, Adam Clayton. We had some fantastic talent come through the door. You now look as far as Corey Evans, didn't really work out. He's gone on to play copious amounts of international football. He's
He's
played
done all right,
fantastic
like.
level. Sunderland, Ollie Norwood, there's some that haven't sort of gone on to do what I think was sort of expected of them. But yeah, we went through a real purple patch, and I think Jordan Pickford, another one. So I think during my period we were blessed with some fantastic talent. Was I sad to see that any of them go? Yeah, quite a few of them. I think we would have loved to have kept hold of vast majority of them and to watch them develop with Carlisle. But
Yeah.
the performances were that good, and you could see they had that bit of quality, a bit of extra something. So it was always understandable that, you know, they left Carlisle and went on to sort of bigger their sort of career at other clubs, which was a shame. But I think the time that we had with them, you know, they really helped and, you know, sort of lifted the level of us as well. So I think it worked well.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of signings during your period at Carlisle United on loan that really stood out and really stood the test of time and went on to had some really good careers. But like at the moment, I feel like being in a League Two position, the low market's more and more of a risk the lower and lower down you go, especially when you're trying to get them from the higher leagues, the youth academy sort
Yeah.
of players and stuff. But yeah, we fell in love with a player called Daniel Simiyu this year, and I mean, all the best to him at Southampton. All the best to him at Southampton. We do like to cover a bit of current news, but obviously this is going to be a summer special episode. But I feel like people will still be talking about this. The big news that has broken in the last 24 hours is that Haaland is signing for Manchester City for 51 million. That doesn't sound like a lot of money to me. Haaland's probably definitely in the top 10 players in the world, top 5 strikers in the world, absolutely. What are your views on that as a transfer?
I think you hit the nail on the head. 51 million in today's market is a drop in the ocean. It is an absolute steal for a player of, what is he, 21?
Yeah.
If that, you know, he's expected to be one of the next top talents up there with Mbappe and a few others. And to get him for 51 million into a team like Man City, you know, I think that's an absolute coup. I think you could be talking potentially, you know, I think there's a lot of things go with big money transfers, and we have seen some of them fall flat on the face. But there's a lot of things that obviously need to go right. I think they'll probably invest in more players, they will lose players. But I guess it's to be seen if Pep Guardiola stays as well. Who knows? But I think putting him in that team with that manager, yeah, I mean, it's an absolute steal. 51 million for him. Mind-boggling.
It's gonna change things next year. It's gonna change the way Manchester City have to play football next season.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's going to be a different system. It's going to be something different. It's going to be something new for the Premier League to have to deal with. Mate, let's get the topic onto what people are really here to listen to, and that's you, mate. People want to know more and more about you. People want to know where you came from. So, of course, the first question is, Matty Robson, you were born in 1985. Sorry, mate, I have to do it. You were born in 1985. What are your first memories of kicking a football? Was it in the front garden? Was it in the streets? What was that at school? When did you first get into just kicking a football?
Yeah, I think my first memories of kicking a football were in my grandparents' yard. It may have just been around Christmas of, how old it might make me sound, 89, 90. I was bought my first Sunderland strip, big Vox, Sunderland kit, straight on out in the street in the backyard, kicking a ball about. And I think it was from then I kind of got the bug. My old man played local level football, nothing too serious. It was Saturday level football. I think it was a couple of steps below the Northern League. But I used to follow him every Saturday. I used to go and do the warm up, kick the ball at the net, you know, watch them playing cup finals. And to them, it meant a lot. And it kind of just snowballed. You know, I went into school and started playing for the school team 3 years earlier than what I should have. Took it to secondary school, we played district, county level football. And then got picked up. I mean, I'd had spells at Sunderland.
Like what age are you when you sort of like start realizing you're better than other people at football? Like what age are you when that's like, is that school level then? Are you sort of realizing you're better than your classmates, better than the year above? Like when people start, when do you get noticed, I guess?
I think at primary school I thought, I'm capable of doing a lot more than what other people were, and even beyond my age. But it took a long time for me to actually understand it. For me, I was just playing football. Okay. And when I started getting sort of picked up at 10, 11-year-old at Sunderland, that was too early for me. I wasn't interested. You know, I used to go train at the Charlie Hurley Centre with my best mate who got picked up at the same time. And I was too busy watching the planes fly over. I was like amazed by the planes. So it was too early for me. And it was just it was too kind of intense, too sort of regimented what you want. You know, in hindsight, you look back and it's actually something that a lot of the kids are doing now. And but for me, it was I enjoyed sort of just playing, having a laugh with my mates. I didn't really know kind of my ability at that level, and that you know I was too sort of focused on it.
What level?
So
What level were you getting onto then? What level was it when people started pointing at you and being like, "Well, you're decent. You can go to the next step."
yeah,
And
I
when's that
think
bit happening?
I mean I'd left there and I ended up going to Wolverhampton after that for the odd
Aye.
weekends. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Hartlepool came knocking, and I went and trained there. And at the time, I was 13 year old, maybe 13, 14 year old. And I had a look around. And I was like, again, it just didn't feel right. So I continued playing and, you know, enjoying the football. And they came knocking again at 15-year-old. So I started playing and, you know, behold, I got offered a YTS. I was starting to get taken out of school at sort of 15, 16-year-old to go and play
What's
reserve
what's that whole
football.
buzz like, man? What's that whole buzz like? Like when you first, you know, like as people jealous of you in the playground,
Well,
you
that's it.
getting lifted
Yeah.
out. Like what's that whole thing like? You know, you must start getting
You know,
noticed a bit.
you know, you become sort of not a target as such, but you become like, oh, there's the golden boy going out. But it was generally half a day Wednesday because I think we used to play in what was the Pontins Reserve League at the time
Right.
at, at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. So I would leave it, you know, whether it be the Wednesday morning if we were playing away game. So yeah, I started doing this. So I think from kind of then on in, I was like, right, okay, there's something that could be had here, and you know, I started to knuckle down. I started to accept that that is the way my career was going to go. You know, I took my eye off school as you would, you know, and I started to focus on it. So I got the YTS at 16. Let's go, and I've always been one who wants to win everything. And if I wasn't at the front, I was last. So when we got to pre-season, I was the one who was ultra competitive, wanted to win the races, wanted to sort of smash, you know, performance record. That was me. And if
Yeah.
I didn't do it, I would get annoyed. And I think it was 1 or 2 years after me first YTS started training and doing pre-season with the first team, and again, it was in my head that it was totally acceptable for me to just blast away because I was capable of doing it. I was fit, you know, I was young,
Did you
and
get away with that?
you get the old pros in. What are you doing? You know, get back here. You know, like
Yeah.
rearing me back in, and but yeah, it was from them. You know, it was a part of my game that you know I knew I could rely on. You know, I might not have been the most technically gifted, um, most attractive player on the eye, but I knew what my strengths were. I knew what my strengths were. I was
Yeah.
quicker and I was powerful, and I kind of utilized that over the next few years.
I mean, like, what were your sort of YTS years like in terms of your cleaning boots regime, the ice baths, filling up the ice baths? Like, what was all that like about Hartlepool?
Yeah, it was
Whose
brilliant.
boots were you cleaning? Sorry.
I remember I was on a guy called Mark Tinkler's boots, who at the time was an absolute icon at Hartlepool. He's a legend. You know, he spent time in the Leeds Academy. He was I think he was England captain at one point at under 16 under 18 level. They've been beyond that, but he was a fantastic servant, and you know I was on his boots. We lived not too far away, so generally the lads would clean the boots on the Friday night or whatever it was, and leave them in the dressing rooms or put them in the boot bag. Me, again, it was something that I prided myself on it. I used to take them home, you know, really polish them, dub And then I used to get someone to take me to drop them off at his house and give them personally. So he had them to carry in, so they didn't go missing. I used to take them to his house. Obviously, you couldn't do that for away games. You had to go and skip. But yeah, it was. I think it kind of got to the point where the whole YTS before me was really intense, and it was kind of dialing down a bit. So I think we got away quite lightly. Yes, we did have to take, equipment out for the first team and leave it. But it was mainly sort of boot cleaning, all that type of stuff. We didn't have to collect the training kit in and take it to the laundry. There was none of that. So it was quite easy, really. I got away quite easy, but it was a good pro to sort of work with. I would like to think that, I mean, he helped me a lot. We spent a lot of time together, obviously playing pro with him as well. But no, he was fantastic to me. He kept me in my place, but rewarded me at the right time as well when for the duty that I did. So yeah, it kept me grounded. I think I've always been that person who has been grounded. It's something that was kind of instilled to me from the likes of Mark and Mickey and Richie, who were all good, humble lads. Never got beyond their expectations, and they kept everyone grounded. And I think for our youth team and my sort of teammates, they really kept a good hold on the dressing room. We never had a big time Charlie of the youth team coming through. And I think at that period of time in Hartlepool's sort of timeline, the success, and I guess without lifting too many trophies, they were pushing for sort of playoff finals in League One, and I think that all came down to the experienced pros that kept the young lads coming through grounded, and we really had a good mix of lads, and I think they kept a tight hold on the dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a lot of lads. I mean, when you went into the team and beyond that, obviously you played a lot of games, and by the time you got up to your sort of like century in appearances, there was a lot of players around you that still dwarfed you in terms of appearances for Hartlepool at that level of football. You made the jump to first team football, and I've seen, unfortunately, conflicting stories, mate, so I'll have to edit this. Was it Mike Newell or Niall Cooper?
Neil Cooper.
Was it Neil Cooper? Yeah. So you made the jump to first team football under Neil Cooper. I mean, what was that like? What was the conversation like? Was it a surprise or... Go on.
Where the conflicting stories may be, I was in a squad with Mike Newell, but I was in and around the first team, obviously with playing reserve team football with, and at that time, it didn't matter if you had played 60 minutes on the Saturday or whatever. If you came on at half time, you were playing reserve team football, so you were always in and around the sort of reserves. So I started getting drafted into squads, traveling, not making the bench. Went down to the old Vexfield in Swansea. So I did some, really tough away legs without playing. But it was actually Neil Cooper that gave me my debut. I think it was a league debut was Peterborough, I think, yeah. And the old saying, I think Barry Fry called us kind of little fish, and we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything in this league, and we ended up. It was a real sort of basketball game, and I think we were getting beat 3-1 at one point, I believe, and ended up winning 5-3. Scored on my debut, as did 4 other players. So I think no, it was 4-3. Sorry, yeah, we were getting beat 3-1, ended up winning 4-3, and all 4 debutants scored on the debut, which was, it was absolutely ecstatic, and it was pretty surreal because you never expect it, but as you start going through the game and you're going through the training week, and you get the Thursday and Friday, and you're doing team shape, and you're looking around, and it's like, oh, I've got a chance here at starting. At the time, I was 18, 19-year-old, and was kind of carefree, and it was just go out and play, enjoy, enjoy yourself. And I think, at that period of time, that team that we had I think was all that. No one gave us any hope at all in achieving anything. But I think we really sort of shocked a few people, and ended up getting to the playoff final.
Yeah, I mean, you had a number of ups and downs while you were at Hartlepool. You were there for a long time. You were there for 7 years. But when you made your debut, there was a friend of the show that was also in the Hartlepool team, and I'm talking about Paul Arneson. He's been on the show before. What was a young Paul Arneson like? Obviously, you were a little bit younger.
I was a little bit younger, yeah. Paul was obviously, he was a Hartlepool lad. Again, full of energy. He was probably one of the characters with the dressing room, quite slightly mischievous, up for a laugh. But again, he came from good stock, being at Newcastle. So he'd been in and around sort of real top level players as well. So amongst all the jokes and kind of the jovial stuff that he brought, there was a real level of professionalism. He was a winner as well. He wanted to win, and obviously he was proud to play for his hometown club. So he had a lot of the dressing room, did Annie.
Obviously, as this time went on, I'm sure he got a bit more comfortable. I mean, the following season, after making your debut, you started to have a couple of more appearances with the club, having a little bit more sort of consistency. Who were the pros that were taking you under the wing? Who was or were the people that were taking competition a little bit too seriously in the team? What are your memories of just trying to break through and trying to learn?
Yeah, and that was it. I guess at the age I was, to play any game was a bonus because of the players we had there at the time. But through my willingness and endeavour and training, wanting to do better, wanting to sort of push, so I guess my boundaries, and improving myself physically, and all that type of stuff. I got me breaks, and I, as others did to me further down my career, I started keeping players out of the squad. But at that period of time, what we were at, it was really good, healthy competition, and we were all driving each other on, and and it showed. We were putting on fantastic performances. We were entertaining, and everyone wanted a part of it. So it was kind of, for me, I was riding a crest of the wave, and I was just taking each game as it come. Yeah, it was brilliant. I think in that squad, I mentioned Mark Tinkler. We had Gordon Watson, Richie Humphreys, Michael Barron, Michael Nelson, Chris Westwood. We had some fantastic players. Adam Boyd, they were still young lads, but they'd had games under the belt, and they knew the way around the block already. So there were some fantastic players in there. Darryl Clark, who is now sort of manager, and gone on to management. We had some real good individuals, good lads for the dressing rooms, and whether they were playing or not playing, they were still offering support. There was no bitterness. There was no, I'm going to sort of put him out of training. I want to play. There was none of that. It was real competitive edge. Everyone wanted to be playing, kind of spurred each other on.
Good, man. Good. I mean, it's obviously you're gonna have a bit of competitiveness when it comes to that level of football as well, because I mean, you want to go up, you don't want to go down. So if you're not playing first team football at that level, things get a bit scary, maybe. And you are playing for incomes and people that have been in the game for a while. It's very understandable, mate. It's very understandable. You got promoted, mate, as runners up. You're playing in the team. You got promoted as runners up. You must have been a lot about town. There must have been people recognizing who's and you were. There must have been people around the place realizing, hey, that's Matty Robson. You must have been getting some interest from the ladies. Or were you constant professional, mate? What was your vibe at that age?
I think we did have nights out. I think then that's what was good about it. There was, a good mix. We're all pretty much local to the area, not exactly from Hartlepool, but yes, we had lads who had relocated from down south, but they all lived there and thereabouts. So we, we did sort of have the odd Tuesday club from training. We used to go into Durham, and it was just a thing that we used to do. You just go to a pub round the corner from the training ground, have some food, have some beers, go into Durham, Newcastle, whatever. But everyone came. All the first team came. There was no one I can't make it. Yes, there might have been the odd occasion, but in the team spirit at the time was brilliant. Again, I was sort of never one that was like, oh, look at me, because I'm from a little village in Coxhill, like in County Durham, sorry, called Coxhill, and it's like I didn't really know much else really. Yes, obviously I'd started to play football, but I don't know what it was, but yes, I would have loved to play, the real top level. Who wouldn't? But I think I was quite real in terms of who I was. I thought, I might have to come back here. I might have to work. Might not have all the luxury. So I kind of, became grounded. Have I used, I'm a footballer? Of course I have. But, it was, I think, yeah, and it goes back to the lads the senior lads that we were playing with at the time. Like you said, they kept you grounded. They never let you get above your station, which was, I think, really important.
I mean, the following season, things don't start very well, and therefore the manager gets the chop, and Martin Scott comes in. I mean, that's your sort of first real experience of being taken under a manager's wing, going into the first team, being his first choice, and then they leave, and now you have to prove yourself to a new manager. What do you remember that experience being like when you started bringing in new players? And I mean, what was he just like as a manager?
Yeah, so Martin Scott obviously was Neil's assistant sometimes. So Andy, so I think it wasn't so much a change of manager. He took over. So he already knew sort of what all the lads were capable of. But you're right. He'll have had other ideas of where he thought he could strengthen and bring in new players and the links that he had and stuff. So. But again, you can't let what goes on outside the club affect what you're trying to do sort of day to day. If he's bringing people in, it might not be a case that he's trying to get you out. He's just adding competition. It's good. He's adding options. And that's what it was. I kind of never really got too distracted from that. Was I upset when I didn't play? Of course I was. I wanted to play every game. Did I think? It was a personal attack. No, but I mean, it hurt me. It hurt me saying, why am I not playing? What have I done wrong? And I think that's probably was a part of I guess probably the weakness that I had was it probably affected my confidence a bit. But it was I never thought it was kind of an attack on myself or anyone else to bring other players in. It's just football, really. That's the nature of the beast. It's the way that football's continued to be, and you've got to continue to evolve, or you stand still and get left behind. That's the way football is.
Yeah. I mean, poor Martin Scott didn't last very long, unfortunately. And there was a new manager brought in who was a part of the first team squad. Paul Stevenson was brought in, and that was the man who you signed your first pro deal with, I believe. Like it took that long for you to get your first pro deal. No, go on, tell the story.
So I think I signed my first pro deal. God, you're testing me here. Yeah, you are testing me here. Let me see. It was Chris Turner, Colin Woods when I was in the youth team. Colin West, sorry, in the youth team. Then Neil Cooper came in, Martin Scott, Paul Stevenson, then I believe went in interim charge. So I'd already signed kind of my pro forms. At least I think I did. Now I'm questioning myself. No, it's been that long ago. So you're right. I mean, in whichever way, I'd sort of played alongside Paul in reserve team football, and again, you kind of knew what many of the lads were capable of. Which again, I guess it's kind of brave of Hartlepool at the time to, to stick to guys within who know the squad and who know what they are capable of, who maybe just have fresh ideas. But yeah, I knew Paul, and again, he knew a lot of the squad who came in and spent some time there at the managerial seat. Yeah.
He did quite well when he was put in charge. And does it surprise you that he's not gone on to do more in management, like actual first team management?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, once you get in that position, and I think that it's like anything, you get the bug, don't you? But there's also the side again that not many players see. We don't see what's going on behind the scenes, and how many hurdles you have to get over to get certain things done, or how political it is. And it may have been that you didn't want that full. I want to be the key Masabi at the top. I don't want that, and I'm happy doing the coaching level, and it's not for everyone, but for some people it's like, yeah, I like this managerial stuff, and yeah, I think it's like anything, you find your niche that where you're going to excel at, and I think maybe on reflection, Paul may have thought, what, I'm quite happy doing the coaching level, support and stuff, which he's very good at, by the way. But Paul was always someone who was really encouraging, really, really positive, and he never let you doubt yourself, and he'd give you a pat on the back and give you a bit of banter, but he was super, super encouraging.
I mean, one of the reasons Martin lost his job, unfortunately, was because they lost a shock FA Cup loss to Tamworth. Was one of the contributing factors towards that, from what I've read. What are your memories of shock FA Cup exits?
Yeah, I've probably been on of a few Tamworth. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I remember that game, and I think the dressing room after was not a pleasant place to be, and I'm sure it still goes on where there's things getting punched, there's not physically punched, but walls and things getting kicked out of place, and the verbals, and it really wasn't a nice place to be in. It was probably a place where I'd never been too many times in my career at that point. And you could see the anger and the aggression that was coming out of the players, at how sort of, I guess, pissed off they were at going out. Not just the Tamworth, because it could be anyone. I think it was more the manner of the defeat. I think it was a lot of disappointment. I think things were said, in that meeting, where it was kind of like, oh, and I think from then it kind of spiraled out of control, and it kind of was needed, that the dressing room kind of needed sort of freshen up and moving on, because it was quite fractious after that. But yeah, I mean, you see it. I think you accept being beat, but if you're not, the manner of the performance, if it's not there, then it's going to be highlighted. And yeah, unfortunately, it was.
I mean, the flip side of that is, of course, I mean, have you ever been on the side of a giant killing? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, we played in a couple. I think we played. I can't recall if they were in the Championship or in the Premiership at one time. But we played Stoke, beat them in the FA Cup, I believe, and ended up playing again. And I'm probably forgetting some things here, but I don't think we'd caused too many. But I do recall playing against, like say, Stoke in an FA Cup game, which obviously no one expected us to win, and we did in the FA Cup. And they were the type of games where you could go in with that, bit of freedom, a bit of, we've got nothing to lose type thing. And yes, they may have had
that must be exciting, man. Yeah,
you might have that bit extra quality, but I guarantee you're not going to work hard as us. That was kind of the mentality and the kind of team talk that we're given. They might be better, but they'll not work as hard as it. And do you know what? he didn't. But yeah, we played against some real top teams, and I think you appreciate that little bit of extra quality. I mean, we played against West Ham, and yeah, it was. I played that game, and the kid I played against, he must have had a barnstorming game against me. 'Cause a couple of weeks later, he got to move to Real Madrid. I thought, get up there, son.
Do you remember his name?
Julian Faubert.
Oh wow, well, yeah, Julian Faubert. Yeah, I remember Julian Faubert. Yeah.
When he got a rad move out to Real Madrid, I was like, was he really that good? And I'm thinking, oh, he must have been. He got to move to Real Madrid. I was like, yeah, fair play. But yeah, no, I think my time at Hartlepool, we were quite lucky to have some brilliant games, and I think to this day, I think Hartlepool still hold the away attendance record at Stadium of Light for a cup game, I believe. We played there. I think there was pretty much a sellout. We took the end of 10,000 people there, which was a fantastic occasion. You know, being a Sunderland fan, to not only play there once, I played there twice. Obviously, I played there with Carlisle. It was spine-tinglingly good. The atmosphere, I've been quite lucky in my career to experience, some fantastic atmospheres, and yeah, it's something that I look back on fondly, really, because a kid from a village with, I guess, I was lucky. Yeah, I was super lucky, but I enjoyed every minute of it.
Mate, and the FA Cup, that's why they call it magic, isn't it? I mean, in 2006, in terms of your playing career, in 2006, unfortunately, Hartlepool were relegated from League One into League Two. At that time, you must have been one of the biggest, one of the best assets at the club as a young talent coming through, exciting, scoring goals. I mean, were you not tempted to try and get a move to stay in League One?
Do you know what? I think it was probably a bit naive at the time. I was still, relatively young. I don't think at that time I had an agent. So I didn't go out my way to sort of make contacts at the club. I guess I was going to accept what was going to happen. So my career prolonged with Hartlepool, and I was absolutely delighted. They gave me my opportunity in pro football, and I still felt I had something to give. Getting relegated is absolutely disgusting. It is a real stomach sinking feeling. It's awful. It hurt. But obviously, I guess we had that belief if we could retain, the core body of that squad, we'd get back. The Hartlepool would get back up to that level, and yeah. But in terms of looking elsewhere, no, my eyes weren't turned. I think you look back, had I had that I guess that support behind the scenes, and I guess as much you hear a lot spoken of agents and how interfering they can be, and it's all about the money, But I think there are some genuine, in fact, a lot of genuine agents out there who do for the greater good, who have either been ex-players themselves, they know what it's about. But at the time, I didn't. I didn't have one. And my time at Hartlepool extended.
Yeah, I mean, you did bounce back, and one of the reasons you bounced back, we've both kind of spoken about it a little bit already during this interview, was the fact that you retained a lot of players that have already played a lot of games for the club of Hartlepool. I'm talking about Demetrius Konstantopoulos. I hope I got that right. Ethan Williams, Michael Nelson was still there, Anthony Sweeney, Mark Tinkler, and yourself, notching up over 1,000 appearances for the club at that time, and obviously more so now. Still great friends, still see them often. I mean, what's Demetrius up to these days?
So Dimmy is he is part of the coaching staff there. He dipped into sort of coaching at obviously his playing career went on for years into Middlesbrough and what have you. He did end up started to play Northern League level. But yeah, he's still sort of involved in the coaching side of things there, I believe. Nicky Barron, outside of pro football, ended up working with him again at Children in the Northern League, and he still had that same, drive for football. Still wanted to win, and you could see it, in dressing rooms again when things didn't go well. You could see that, that desire to win, and so yeah. Although our lives have all vastly changed, and we move on, and I think when there are get-togethers and there's events that are carried out, getting that squad back together, it's fantastic. If I was to see them at football games where we've played and we've trained, we get on and speak really well. So at that time, I was fortunate to play with such good lads.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got promoted. You're back in League One. And there was obviously a lot of changes. You bring a lot of players in. You've had to say hello and goodbye to a lot of work colleagues at your time at Hartlepool. And are you firmly in that group at that time, or are new people allowed to come in and out, or what's the changing room like when players are coming in and out?
And that's the thing. The changing room was so good. Do you know what? I've never been part of a bad changing room. So again, I think again I've been quite lucky, as footballers, you expect that there's going to be change, you expect that there's going to people come and go. That is football, and ultimately you have to accept that. But there's no point trying to be blockers or anything like that, because ultimately it's going to affect performances on the field. So you have to accept them in, and that's what we did. And yeah, I think, like you say, the change rooms that I've been a part of, they were an absolute pleasure. A real good mix of sort of youthfulness and experience. And I think, that's, I guess why Hartlepool did bounce back straight away. They really sort of integrated new players well, and it was absolutely brilliant.
And you managed to stay up, obviously. I mean, I've got a weird question, man. Did you swap from the number 18 shirt to the number 19 shirt that season for some reason?
I might have. I think if I look back on my career, I think I've won quite a substantial amount of shirt numbers. I don't know why.
I don't know. I was just kind of thinking, is it a superstitious thing? Like, I don't know, man.
I think I had 25, 23, 18, 19, 3. I had quite a few, I think.
Fair dues, man. Fair dues. You guys stayed in the division. There's a manager change. Danny Wilson goes out. Chris Turner comes in, and it's under Chris Turner you leave, and you sign for Carlisle United. What was your relationship like with Turner when you left?
The relationship was fine. I think there's a lot of misconception that I got released. I actually left. They offered me a new deal. But at the time of my career, I was 24, 25, and I wanted to play football. And like you say, with change, you bring in new players, and you maybe not playing as much, or you're getting little spells here and there. You play, and you might come back fit, and you put you on the bench. And so at the time, I was really wanting to play. They offered me a deal to stay, and I only had to think about it for a couple of days. I looked at the deal and I thought, I'm not going to play much here, because I'm not sort of here to speak numbers, but I wanted to play, and my appearance money was kind of pretty much on par with my weekly salary. So I thought, I'm not going to play much if they're going to be basing it around appearance money. So and it was a gamble. I left with nothing. I have nothing to go to, but I didn't want to take something that was in front of me, because I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. And I kind of backed myself that I could find a club, whether I had to go on trial, whatever it was. And I did. I left. It was no hard feelings at all. I'm forever grateful of Hartlepool for giving me my opportunity in football. I learned a lot. I developed a lot. Met some fantastic people. I'm still in touch with people, and relationships are still good. But it was the right thing to do, not only for me but for the club. I'd been there sort of from a YTS position, and yeah, it was the right time. So I left, and then had a kind of few weeks to sort of move things over on holiday and stuff, and then ended up on the phone with Greg Abbott at Carlisle. Went over for a chat and immediately hit it off. Invited me over. We had a discussion. We had a bit chat. Um, Met with Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jenkins, and a few other, John and Stephen, with the board. And you know, immediately said we want you over here. And something kind of just felt right. I guess you look at it geographically, it wasn't too sort of far away from where I was based. I think the ambition and what they wanted to achieve and what they were saying was right for me. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. So I signed, and there was kind of no looking back. And I guess the rest is history. And yeah, it was something, I was grateful of Greg and Carlisle for at the time.
I mean, it sounds great, man, because Greg Abbott has just recently signed up with Carlisle United once again to be the recruitment manager for Paul Simpson, who's now in charge as manager. So, I mean, like, your story bodes well in terms of his credentials, because, like you said, you guys hit it off. So man, great times, great times. You signed for Carlisle in 2009. You've just obviously spoken about your introduction to Greg Abbott, but what was your introduction to the city like? What were your first impressions of Carlisle? Was there anything that stood out for you? A landmark, a bar, any place you used to frequent?
That little sandwich shop just right next to the club shop. I don't know if it's there anymore. Can't remember what it was
It's a
called.
bakery thing still. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, it's still
Carlisle Bakery.
sandwiches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
man.
spent a lot of time in there after training for when I went back across the 69. But no, yeah, it was obviously quite a big city, and the people are similar to the people over in the northeast. They welcome and they're friendly. They're happy to speak to you. Obviously, the town centre was sort of a lot bigger than what I was used to, and had a bit more going on. So yeah, it was a nice introduction. I thought, yeah, it's really nice here, and I think for the first sort of year, I think it was first year and a year or two, I lived in Diggs on the front street of Warwick Road, to the left of the shop, and then they got another house to the right, sort of a few years later. So obviously for games and various sort of training, I would stay overnight after training. We'd sort of go out for food. Casa Romana, was that one up there? Was that Casa Romana and then
Yeah, man.
Nando's? And
That's still there. It's still there. The Italian. Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, you used to get well looked after in there. So yeah, it was it was absolutely, I couldn't have dreamt it going to a new club could have gone any better. The dressing room was really good, welcoming. Again, had some fantastic characters in. So yeah, I think I settled into life there straight away. Still had that going into pre-season. I'm going to beat everyone mentality. Fitter and stronger, and yeah, I still went in that. Nothing changed. It was just
Breaking
me, new
records.
dressing room. Yeah,
Breaking
we just
records
kind
in
of
a changing room with Graham Kavanagh in it. Yeah. I mean, like, I got two more questions for you, mate, by the way. So I don't want to take too much more of your time. I've got two more questions for you, mate. What was it like going into a changing room? Like you said, with your personality, where you want to run out and beat everybody and be the best at training, when you're surrounded by people like Peter Murphy, Graham Kavanagh, and Vincent Perricard. Like, what are those attitudes like when they're watching you sprinting around?
So yeah, obviously Murph had been there some time, and Danny Livesey, Bridgie, Thurwell, and the likes of who Joanne Yinser, and Cleveland Taylor, and all these types of folk who seen a new guy come in, relatively young at the time. I think 24, and they weren't going to make it easy for me type thing. And I had to sort of work my way in and find out where, I was going to be comfortable in the dressing room, which you do. And, I think it was like, bloody hell, who's this guy? Like, thinking out, rein it in a bit type thing. And there were some fit lads, but, in my head, I was fitter than the rest of them. And again, I knew what my strengths were and where I was capable of doing it. So, yeah, for me, it was kind of just, work as normal. But yeah, no, they were a really, really good bunch.
I mean, like, mate, in terms of the interview, we'll leave things there. And I don't feel like I'm putting you on the spot. I think I might have mentioned something to do with a part 2 in the future, maybe.
Yeah.
So plenty of meat on the bones for a part 2 in the future. Thank you so much for your time today. There's only one question left, mate, and it's a cheeky one. And all the ex-pros have had to answer it. So I hope you're not too shy. Here we go, mate.
Right.
Being an ex-professional footballer, you have been lucky enough to be included in gaming titles like FIFA and Football Manager. So my question to you, Super Matty Robson, is, have you ever played with yourself?
Yes, please. I have. Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying out of the back of my teeth. I think it was Champman 01 or 2. Absolute classic of a game, by the way.
Yes.
I played on that 03 or 4. Of course, I've put myself out of the youth team, put myself into the first team. Bought myself for Man United and all that. Of course, I have. It'd be fool not to.
Has to be done.
But yeah,
someone has to replace gigs, It must be a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun talking to you, mate. It really has been. I hope you hang around just for one more minute at the end after we say goodbye to the listeners, mate. This has been an absolutely cracking summer special. Really appreciate your time. And there's nothing else left for us really to do but say bye from me and bye from Matty Robson. Say bye, Matty, buddy.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye for now. Oh, cheers, mate. Cheers, man. Thank you so much for that.